Peace World, and welcome everybody to a special conversation for the Sportster. My name is Adam Barnard. Thank you so much for joining me again today. My guest, I'm here with former UFC Heavyweight Champion and the man who portrays himself in the upcoming film, The Smashing Machine, Bas Rutten. Boss, thank you again for your time, sir. It's a pleasure.
You're very welcome. Happy to be here.
So you play yourself in The Smashing Machine. What was it like kind of stepping back into that version of yourself and then getting the chance to portray yourself on screen?
It was really weird. It was really crazy. It was amazing because and easy. I've been teaching, of course, for a long time, but the fact that DJ Dwayne looked so much and acted so much like him, it was literally as if I was flashback in time and I was teaching Kerr again. So you forget about cameras, and Betty Safdie is the greatest guy for that. Everything is super relaxed on the set. So I was literally just teaching what I normally do. So it was amazing.
Now, what was your reaction when you first read the script or you were first approached about being a part of this project? What was your initial reaction?
Well, of course, I heard it first from Mark. I think Mark Kerr told me a long time ago. Then I heard DJ announcing it at the UFC event. I go, oh, that would be cool. Who's going to play me? So you were thinking about that. But just overall, to bring that back in that time, when I read the script, I knew he had trouble with his wife Dawn, but I didn't know it was that of a toxic relationship, and I was like, oh wow, this is pretty gnarly. Now everything starts making sense. All these crazy long telephone calls that he had with his wife in the car the whole time, hours. So I go like, okay, now it's yeah, now I know what's going on. So yeah, it was crazy, and then to come there and to have everything transformed to that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, backstage, everything. It was something. It was very special.
Now, how closely does the film represent that real life relationship that you experienced with Mark Kerr at that time in your life?
Very close.
Yeah.
I watched the screening like 6 weeks ago or something in my town. They set it up for me, and I was only allowed to watch with my family. And my wife was sitting next to me, and she was, oh my God. I go, what? It's him. He's Kerr. I go, right. It's so amazing the way he speaks and walks and talks, and so yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Now you've acted in comedies and action films before, but The Smashing Machine is this really dramatic and incredible movie. How did that experience acting in this movie change or challenge you rather as an actor?
Well, as an actor, for me, so to play myself, everything is. I remember an acting coach tell me a long time ago. He says, "It's the moment they tell you that you are exactly like yourself, that is the biggest compliment you're going to get." And I had it in Here Comes the Boom. But in Here Comes the Boom, I was the crazy guy. Well, actually, in this film as well, not the crazy guy, but the always energetic guy. So I was literally putting myself in that spot again because I calmed down a bit over 25 years. I mean, this has been a long time ago. But, so I tried to up it again like I would be exactly at that time. So it was kind of, like I said, it was easy, but it made easy because he was Kerr, so I was just thrown back in time.
Yeah. Now, this is obviously, we've talked about Dwayne a little bit here. It's Dwayne Johnson's first real dramatic role. Outside of his just incredible portrayal of Mark Kerr, what impressed you most about the way he approached becoming Mark Kerr outside of that unbelievable approach to his representation?
Everything. I'm even going so far as having the Kerr shoulders.
Wow.
People go like, oh, yeah, but he's an athlete and I said, trust me, every athlete wants to have the Kerr shoulders, but you have that gene or you don't have that gene. And if you don't have it, unfortunately, you cannot get it. That's what bodybuilders are after the whole stuff.
Yep.
And I mean, Christian Bale losing money in The Machinist and then American Hustle, then he's gained weight. And if that gets praised, I think stuff like this should be praised. So because when he walked in, immediately he had the shoulders. Was the first thing I said, dude, because I know how hard it is. I don't know how many hours he spent on that time on getting that, but completely going into character. Right, the first time I see him, he grabbed me. It's the first time we met, and he grabbed me and he gave me a big kiss on my head. And that was the first minute. So I go, oh, okay. And then right away I go, it was Mark. Mark Kerr used to always do that. He was already doing everything that Mark did. And then, yeah, like I said again, when you go the way he smiles, the way he cracks a joke, the way he cries. I mean, the movement of his mouth is Mark Kerr. So I don't know how he got into that, but he went deep.
Now, there's this incredible scene that you two share in the movie where it's, I believe you have an issue with your tendon in your arm, and there's this really profound moment where, Dwayne as Mark effectively puts himself back into harm's way in order to help you. What was shooting
Yeah.
that scene like for you, and was that an emotionally difficult moment for you to revisit and sort of live in while you were filming?
Yeah, it was because that really stopped my career. That was always a hard one for me because it was my tendonitis. Once that hits, then if it's 6 weeks before a fight, that's it. 10 times a week, because I would work out 10 times a week, I will be in an incredible pain. I have 45 minutes and then it hits, and then it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, and there's nothing you can do.
Hmm.
You see, because I didn't grab two painkillers because I knew that it's going to affect me mentally. It's going to slow me down. So I knew I had to write this thing out. I started losing weight. It was very hard to keep on weight because I didn't want to eat anymore. It was so painful. And that literally, yes, once I started it surprised me. I go like, whoa, this is, yeah, it threw me back at the bad time. And I go, and that's why I don't really miss it anymore, the training, because of that.
Yeah. Now, Benny Safdie has a reputation for making these really raw and sort of gritty films. What was it like for him and his vision to be applied to this really personal project that you were involved with?
It was everything for him. If you make meet Benny, it's the only thing he's doing. He's breathing it and all day long. He's already editing scenes from the day before, and he shows it to you with the music. I mean, he brings a speaker. He actually gifted me a speaker, a Bose speaker, because he has it everywhere. I go, dude, that's a cool speaker. And then the next day he got me one, and but he's playing all the time. He's playing the music and finding out which song is the best in the movie. Would be for the movie. Would be a Smashing Machine playlist, and it was all music that me, my daughters, because we all live in that time. Even my daughters, they have all the same taste as I have
Yeah.
from that music. So it's to have somebody so busy with it and making it so gritty. I mean, the cameras, he used the same cameras that Prize Fighting Championship were using. It
Wow.
was everything. The Tokyo Dome lights were there,
Wow.
swinging around. He got them over from Japan in order to the backstage. Everything was Japanese. Even where it was not filmed, it was Japanese little carts driving around with the Japanese sodas or whatever it was. It was like you were in Japan. So yeah, he really wanted to feel everybody that okay, this is how it was back in the day.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I that was one thing I really took away from the movie was the soundtrack portion of it. There was a couple. There's a scene where Mark's in the pool and he's cleaning the pool, and you can hear how the music. I think I can't remember if it was the Beach Boys or another song, but you hear this instrumental over top of it, and you hear how it's sort of becoming this like fragile moment where Mark is intertwined between those two worlds, where he's trying to be sober and not, and control. I thought that was fabulous. And then again in the big final scene of the movie, obviously we won't give too much away here, but in real life, what was going through your mind in that moment while you're watching Mark fight, for that big prize, and effectively what happens? What was that moment like for you?
It's a very hard moment because I felt for so much for Mark, because it's a lot of fighters have this big ups and downs, right?
Yep.
The winning, there's everything, and thankfully I never had that. The losing, I go, I've been very fortunate as well in my last 22 fights. So, but still, if I would lose, I would always tell myself, this is just the universe telling me I'm going to have to work harder.
Yeah.
I was never down. I partied just as hard, did all this crazy stuff, but but that for him, I knew it really hurt him. It really mentally and physically, everything, because with him, physical and mental was everything. So yeah, that was a hard moment for him. And what are you going to do afterwards, right? He still tried to kickstart his career a few times, it unfortunately didn't work. It didn't pay off. He never became that guy anymore. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was, fighting with that stuff on, that puts you in a certain state or something. And if you're used to that, suddenly that's taken away. It's a different mindset. Sometimes it is with people like who never lost, right? You saw with Tyson, you see with all these greatest fighters, they get
Yeah.
stopped one time and suddenly they realize they're not invincible,
Yeah.
and how does that play in your head? And nowadays, in this day, with all the fighters, they have mental coaches for that, how to get rid of that, because they know it could be a big problem if you can't shake it off. If you're going to be afraid for a knockout, it's going to happen. You're going to get knocked out. It's always like that. It's like you're sending out a signal. So, yeah, that was hard because I knew that would all go through his mind. And what is he going to do now? I think that he projected himself that he was going to have a good long career, decide when he's going to stop. And then if that gets cut short, then yeah, that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of fighters.
This film portrayed an era where MMA was still kind of in this transitional time, and it was still really misunderstood by the public. There's that scene in the beginning of the movie where Mark is talking to the woman at the doctor's office, and I don't like that stuff, and it should be illegal, whatever it is. What do you think the film captures best about that period of time? And do you hope that this film, when people are watching it, maybe young MMA fans or UFC fans or mixed martial arts of any kind, do you hope this film bridges the gap between the sport's past and its present?
I think it does. I think now that people know, we weren't fighting for money, we weren't fighting for fame. We loved it and that people were there, but there was no social media, there was no money. $200,000. That's a fighter now on the main card is going to get that. If you, I mean, the money, my biggest pay was $55,000, which was big because 50,000 was a 3-fight deal normally at the UFC. So anyway, everybody was looking at me, man, you get $55,000, but what do you keep? So you're literally really doing it for the love of the sport. You just think it's like the ultimate challenge. I mean, fighting is not boxing. I'm the best fighter in the world. No, you're the best boxer. It's a different world. Fighting, everything is allowed. That means many ways to win, but that automatically means many ways to lose as well. And you have a default or a defect on Achilles' little tiny heel on one of these areas. Well, they're going to exploit that. So you better work on that. You see, and now people see it's not all shine and glory and people there. You don't know what goes on in a fighter's life. I mean, we even saw that with The Ultimate Fighter. That's why that show boomed on the map so hard and so big. Everybody was like, wow, these fighters are just guys. Like everybody, I get goosebumps now, but I always tell this. I have so many friends. I don't think I have to buy a hotel anywhere in the world. If I just fly in somewhere and I call somebody, any fighter, I'm going to say, hey, dude, can I crash with you? Yeah, no problem. And because I would do the same thing to them. It's such a camaraderie they have because we all go through the same stuff. All the fighting you see and these words to each other. Most of the time, it's just to hype up the fight, and we know that. But there's a real strong bond among fighters because it's a tough sport. And you always fight with an injury. You have to work around that injury during your training sessions. I mean, everybody goes through it. If I have an injury, I know my opponent has one. I know. I don't have to think, oh, yeah, but he's injury free. He's hiding it because we always have. And now people can see that. Now people see, oh, that's not only the life. And if everything is not in order, like I have been very blessed with my wife, she understood that. She understood that the week before, the 10 days before, with all the injuries, I separate myself a little bit from the family because otherwise, I don't know if I'm getting angry or not. I don't want to be that guy. I even moved to another place and said, listen, I'm going to do the last week. I'm so hurting right now. I don't want to be that guy. And now people see it. And then they go, okay, these are human beings who actually love to fight. And for us, it's the same as when I shoot hoops with freaking Shaquille O'Neal or something, with my friends. It's the same. We are just testing our skills to see who's on that day the best fighter. There is no violence, and that's why I love that scene at the doctor's office in the promo. Yep. Do you hate each other? Absolutely not. We love each other. And you should see Breakfast in Japan with all the fighters, everybody. I mean, it's one big laughing fest. Comedy Central, man. People cracking jokes, telling stories, war stories. It's hilarious because we all love each other.
Now, The Smashing Machine hits theaters October 3rd. Please go out of your way to check it. It's an absolutely incredible film. Bas Rutten, thank you again so much for your time, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, my friend. Adam, Godspeed.
Thank you, sir.